thank you so much for joining us today on this episode. Jumping right into it, and talking about OpenMesh, how does this story begin? Like, where did OpenMesh start?
So OpenMesh began in the mid-2000s when our founder, Mike Burmeister Brown, noticed that there was a really big gap between the opportunities available for kids in his son's school that had Wi-Fi at home and those that didn't. So he wanted to find a solution that could be deployed in low-income housing communities in order to bring Wi-Fi into those communities and give those kids the same opportunities as the other kids in the school. He initially was just trying to find a solution that he could deploy, maybe recommend, kind of write a paper on it and be done with it. But he found there was really nothing out there that was really easy to install so that communities could install this themselves, really easy to manage, so again, that they could manage it themselves, and at a price point that could work for them. So he ended up partnering with some people from MIT, and they had a solution that was really easy to deploy, and it was at a great price point, but there was really no way to manage it. So what he did was work with them on building the first cloud controller, essentially, for these devices. They productized it, it became a company, and a solution was had, which is great. They eventually pivoted and kind of went after the enterprise market and really left that same solution lacking in the market again. So that's really when OpenMesh was born. It was 2007. We wanted to have a solution that was, again, really easy to deploy, really easy to manage, and really low cost. And those are the three things that have kind of stayed true throughout our story. We've moved from the low-income housing community into regular housing, into hotels, into retail, hospitality, SMB, and kind of expanded from there. And we found that those same considerations in terms of easy to use, easy to deploy, and low cost really apply to a lot of different businesses, and they really fit well with the MSP and the IT integrator market.
Now, what would you say is the primary reason you have your customers buying from OpenMesh?
I think the primary reason that customers buy from OpenMesh are really two things. One is simplicity, and the other is the total cost of ownership. So in terms of simplicity, we've really focused on making a product that's incredibly easy to deploy. It's easy to plan and network, and then it's easy to manage it across large sites and multiple locations. And then we think about total cost of ownership a lot as well, because it's not just the cost of the product that you buy, but it's the amount of times you need to go on site ahead of time to plan out a deployment. It's the amount of times, if you have a product that's not reliable or needs on-site management, every time you have to roll a truck, that's a lot of cost as well. And then there's the cost of the cloud. So something that's interesting and unique about OpenMesh is that we include the cost of our cloud service with the cost of the access point. So you pay for the access point once, it includes the cloud for life, and that really brings the total cost of ownership way down in terms of a network solution.
Now, in relation to the access points, what were some of the challenges that you and your team faced when creating them?
We've been making access points for about 10 years now, and so we've deployed in hundreds of thousands of locations with tens of thousands of customers, and we've learned a lot in that process. And so with the new line, what we were trying to do was take everything that we had learned from our previous models and build that into one device. So with our previous models, we had a really small form factor that you could, out of the box, you could place on a desk, you could hide it in a ceiling somewhere, and it worked great. We also had these enclosures that you could use to kind of transform that access point into an Ethernet wall jack if you're deploying in a hotel or dorm room, into a ceiling enclosure if it's a traditional office space, into a wall plug enclosure for as a repeater, and you could actually install it outdoors as well. So we thought with this new line, how could we get all the benefits of that modular approach where you can take a single AP and deploy it virtually anywhere and build that into a single device. We needed to go to a larger form factor because of the increasing demands on the network and just better performance that we wanted to get out of the AP. So when we looked at it, we thought, can we build a device that will do everything so that if you're a customer, you can really show up at any site and have a single model that you can deploy on a ceiling. You can deploy on an Ethernet wall plate. You can actually deploy it outside as well. So it works equally well in all the situations, which is something that really no one else is doing today. Typically, the process for deploying a new network is you go on site, you kind of see what you need to deploy. I need 5 ceiling APs, a couple of wall plate APs, an outdoor AP. You go back, you order it, you wait for that product to come, you go back on site again. With OpenMesh, if you kind of know the rough square footage of how much area you need to cover, you can show up with a few APs and have confidence that no matter what conditions you encounter, you're going to be able to install a really professional solution virtually anywhere.
Ryan, what do you see as some of the benefits now that Datto and OpenMesh are together?
I think what's interesting about Datto and OpenMesh are really two companies that have a shared focus in terms of the customers that we serve, but approach it a little bit differently. So we had a number of companies kind of approach us over the years and see if we'd be interested in joining up with them, and really there wasn't a great fit, we felt, until Datto came along. And I think what's really interesting about Datto, from our customer standpoint, is it offers two ways to buy. So Datto is committed to keeping OpenMesh as a brand in the market, really doing our thing as we've always done it. We've had a healthy and growing business with a great customer base, and we want to continue to see that grow. And both companies are really invested in that. So that's awesome to see that people like our business model. They want to see us continue growing in that. But there's also opportunity to kind of take some of the products and take the things that we've learned, but then introduce it to the Datto customer base, and then also wrap some of the Datto services around it that we don't offer with the model that we have at OpenMesh. So things like 24/7 support and extended warranty, seeing all your networking in the Datto portal. I think there's some really powerful benefits for the MSP market, and that's a great fit, kind of taking everything that we've learned about, wrapping some Datto services around it and offering it as a Datto networking solution.
Now, Ryan, for a partner who's never gotten a chance to get their hands on an access point, what are some of the unique features they could expect to see?
I think something that's unique about it is when people plug it in for the first time, when they configure it for the first time in the cloud, just how easy it is to get a network up and running, like within a couple minutes. I mean, it's so simple, it's so straightforward. The management capability of that, I think, is fantastic. And again, that edge towards simplicity and ease of use. What's surprising is how deep you can go with that. So we've built our cloud solution on top of an API layer that we expose to our partners. So if they want to use that API to pull in information for reporting or do some configuration and build it into their systems, that it's all available to them. We also have a presence API, so you can detect when users are coming on site. And this is really helpful for restaurants and retail locations, and maybe integrating with some third-party solutions to do location-based services, so location-based marketing and tracking footfall and things like that. And then we also have a really powerful captive portal that allows you to provide some pretty interesting things in terms of the guest Wi-Fi side, and lots of integrations. So we see ourselves as a really solid, easy-to-use platform. But we try and make it really easy to integrate with other solutions that are out there.
So building off of that, what would you say is in store for the future?
I think what's really interesting is seeing these two companies come together and how we can accelerate the plans that we've had in the works for a little while. So from OpenMesh and Datto Networking, you can look forward to new products. On the AP side, a next generation of access points, additional models in the switch line, accelerating our cloud features and the AP and switch features as well. And then some additional products that we'll be launching later this year that I can't quite talk about yet.
Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you being on the show today.
Thanks, Kevin.